when she threw you on that bed.
Yeah.
I see that just like it happened yesterday when I saw it. I went over the edge.
Yeah. No doubt.
I went over the edge. It took 3 men and my mother
Mm-hmm.
to keep me from killing your mother.
Yeah.
That particular day.
Yeah, so that what he's speaking on right now is the story that my mother told me one Thanksgiving day. I was 42 years old at that time. And it just so happened that my mother and my father were at our house at a Thanksgiving dinner. And I guess for some reason my mother was looking at him and she was reflecting. And I think her goal was to damage the connection that we had at that point, because we talked all the time and I couldn't have a 5-minute conversation with my mother. And so my mother proceeds to tell me this story. She says, I bet he didn't tell you about the time where, she took me to his house, to his parents' house, and tossed me on the bed where he was at 6 months old. And he proceeds to beat the brakes off of her. And that's the story he's speaking about. And I'm hearing it for the first time at the age of 42. I'm like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do with that? And I didn't know. I'm like, I don't understand why you're telling me this now. In the moment, that's how I was reflecting. And as I'm looking at him and his, facial expressions, he didn't say a word. He didn't disagree. He didn't add to it. And while my mother is telling this story, it's almost like she went back in time and she was getting amped up and animated. And I'm like, wow. So had he said anything, it would have just added more fuel to the fire that was burning on the inside of her while she was telling that story. And so what it did, it let me know why they were separated. They had multiple experiences where it could have gone south really fast. And there are many stories out there where domestic violence doesn't end well. And it was truly by the grace and mercy of God that one didn't end badly. So that's the story he's speaking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I just simply lost it.
Yeah.
I lost it all the way. I didn't care. Mm-hmm. You hurt my baby. You tried to hurt my baby.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
And I went in a protective mode.
Yeah.
Of every child that I ever came in contact with.
Yeah.
If you try to hurt that child,
Mm-hmm.
you got to come through me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because, over time as an adult, and my wife and I being married for 34 years now, we have been parents to many. We have 3 adult children, but we've been parents to many. And it wired me to be overprotective with my own children, sometimes to a fault. But I couldn't tell my own story, so they didn't know why I was so protective at that time. And it just wired me to be protective, to be a provider, to prepare the kids, to be present, and make sure that they didn't experience the things that I experienced, And so while that story is as real as it gets, I didn't hear it until I was 42. And the interesting part was my wife and I were 15 years into our marriage before I could say anything, and I mean anything, about anything I experienced as a child and growing up, right? I was distant from my mother. I was distant from my older brother. She didn't understand why. And it's because I couldn't talk about it, right? So we were 15 years into our marriage before I could begin to speak to my wife about those experiences. And what triggered it was 3 years prior to my mother telling me that story at the age of 39, a gentleman at work, he's talking to me and he says, why, how can you be the man of God that you are and you're not close to your family? And I was like, well, I'm close to my family, my wife and my children. But he was referring to my mother and my siblings. And I said, we're just not, and I couldn't talk about the experiences at that time. But what it triggered me to do was to call my mother and call my older brother and tell them I forgive them. Well, that was just a starting point. And after I made that phone call, then I went home and began to talk with my wife about some of the experiences. And I couldn't even finish the first sentence before I broke like a child. Good gosh almighty. And my wife embraced me and she said, honey, I love you and you just need to write it down. Man. Yeah. And 3 years after that is when my mother decided to tell me that story. And I ended up writing a book, a bio. It took me 10 years to write the book, to reflect on the experiences and the outcomes of those experiences. It took me 10 years to get through that. And as I think about it, it was therapy for me. It was healing. It was hard because I had to revisit those experiences and then pause. And because it's almost like you go back into the very moment of hardship. And emotionally, that's tough. And so sometimes I had to put the book aside for about 6 months before I could go back and finish a particular situation or topic of discussion. And so when my mother told me that one, that became, the initial story that's shared in the book. The book is titled My Story Within. And, it became critically important for me to get over and get beyond those experiences. And then why do I need to get over that? Because as a man, as a father, as a leader, as a husband, as a leader at work, my desire, or as some would say, my North Star, is to become the best version of myself, and the only way to do that is to face the person that you see in the mirror. I had somebody tell me one day, listen, you need to go to your room. Go tell the person you see in the mirror and tell that 10-year-old inside of you, ooh, you're okay. Tell that 14-year-old you made it. You survived. Now, go be you. That didn't happen until I was 55 years old. Are you kidding me? Yeah. So life's experiences, if we're in this day, if we're able to see the moment, look at ourselves in the mirror, it's an opportunity. It's a chance, and it's also a choice. As one of my new team members and leaders, he declared to me, he says, Brian, it's a choice that we make. Nobody's taking advantage of us when we choose to do something right on behalf of someone else that may not deserve it, or in our minds may not deserve it. It's a choice we make. And I was thankful for that nugget because it's critically important. When we experience hardships and we need to forgive, and we've overcome obstacles and adversity. One aspect of that is it means we have an assignment and an opportunity to display our scars as stars of hope for someone else who may have gone through the same thing, who may be going through some similar experiences, right? And as they see us, they hear us when we choose to be transparent and vulnerable, they can draw from that. They can reflect and say, you know what? If he or she made it, I can make it too. And so the aspect of forgiveness, it's a different feeling, and I'm thankful for it. And I didn't realize that I needed to do a few more things, right, to forgive this guy right here beside me. And I'm thankful that God allowed me to see that and experience gratitude on another level, be able to look in the mirror and say, you can, you shall, you must be the best you today. I can't go back into yesterday. I cannot jump into tomorrow. So the challenge and the opportunity is to maximize our moment today. What am I going to do today? And so just being thankful for that, that insight, that wisdom, that encouragement, that inspiration from God. Yeah. So, yeah, what a story. What an experience. Yeah. What do you do next, young man? What's your words of wisdom and encouragement for me now?
Trust in the Lord.
Yeah. Oh, that's so.
With all of thine heart, and lean not unto your own understanding, but in all of your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path.
I think that is so profound, because this experience, right, has really been about that, because I experienced the hardships in life, and I couldn't trust my parents. It really led me down a path of being limited in my trust in God, right? I've been conditioned and wired to trust in this guy in the mirror, right? And it's caused me to overanalyze, overthink a lot of things, reflect on the wisdom and knowledge that I've gained. But as he stated, when the scripture says, in all thy getting, get understanding, right? Seek wisdom, but ultimately trust God and ask God to lead and guide us in every day. And then in moments, he'll allow us to reflect on something that we've learned, and we're able to use that in some way, in some situation that we're in. But man, forgiveness is so critical. It's so important. And the forgiveness we offer and give is the forgiveness we receive. Yeah. What a mighty God we serve. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm just enjoying.
Yeah.
I'm just enjoying. Just enjoying the truth of God, the blessings, the untold blessings of God. Mm-hmm.
So you didn't expect to see me today?
No, I did not. Oh my God, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mathew must be gone.
Yeah, he left. He was at work, so he paused to come home just to see, make sure we were good, and he got a call to go back.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Man, get on up and get on that road.
I am. I'm gonna get out of here.
See your brown sugar.
I am. You got to tell me twice on that one. hit this
Thank
road
God.
and get back to my brown sugar. Yeah.
Mm.